And we have a back in today. It's a red letter day at Lee's Music. And then you can hammer in there. Yeah, and that will really, if you want to hammer in whatever you want with that too, it might make it funny. We are live, but we are also on tape. We are deep down in the bowels of Lee's Music. Chris Foulds, Marty Hastings, Magic Mike, Bonnie at the controls. It's Kamloops Last Week. It's episode
33, divisible by 11, and actually, it's the year Hitler, I think, came to power in Germany. I think the National Socialists came to power in that year after burning the Reichstag.
Patrick Waz number. Actually, yesterday I did a story on a Wolfpack guy who scored 33 points, his career high, and the year before he played a total of 33 minutes. So if you're going to play Keno today or something. Yeah. Okay, we do have a really cool show today. Kyrell Sopotyk is going to join us. Kamloops Blazer, former Kamloops Blazer. He was involved in a serious snowboarding accident last January. He's paralyzed from the waist down. Blazer's doing an awesome thing, bringing him back on Friday night, first time back in the city, and we get full capacity for that game too.
Yeah, that's a big deal. Yesterday, which is February 15th, the almost all restrictions were lifted in BC, save for masks inside and the vaccine card still, and a few education and long-term care home rules. But other than that, you can go and dance, you can go to a nightclub. More importantly, on Friday, February 18th, you can pack Sandman Center because it's, like you say, it's going to be, I think it's going to be a very emotional night.
Yeah. You also reeled in James MacDonald. Who is he?
James MacDonald is the artistic director of Western Canada Theatre. He is the man behind all the great plays that Western Canada Theatre does. It's a professional theatre, and as he'll elaborate on, very few cities the size of Kamloops have a theatre of this stature. They perform out of Sagebrush and Pavilion, and he'll talk about the remainder of the season and some of his background.
We also reeled in, Mike,
Ba-ba-ba-ba-ba.
a major sponsor who we introduced today. We'll be drinking exclusively McDonald's coffee. You take credit, I think, for this a little bit?
Of course, because I don't need a sponsorship to drink the best coffee in town from a fast food restaurant place. I know there's other places in town that sell good coffee. Nothing compares to McDonald's. It is the best quick coffee in town. There's no debate.
I've seen the light. You may have noticed me drinking a different brand before, but I've seen the light here at McDonald's. Your kids, actually, did both of them work at McDonald's?
Yeah, that's right. My daughter, her first job was at McDonald's in Aberdeen, and my son, a few years later, his first job was at McDonald's in North Kamloops. And it's long been said that if you get a job at McDonald's and you last long enough, it's ideal for the resume because it's a hard job. Mm-hmm. I remember about two weeks into my daughter's first gig there, she had a very demanding boss. And I picked her up one day and she was crying. She wanted to quit. And we had a long talk and she kept it up, and then she stayed there a year and then she moved on.
Well, that's just, not everybody cries when they work at McDonald's here, okay? This is
it was a life lesson because nothing is easy. Not everything's gonna go your way, and you might have a bad day. You might have a boss who's demanding, but you rise above it, and she did. And 2 weeks later, she was loving it.
Oh boy! No. And if you're not loving it, you can always become a flapper girl.
A flapper girl.
Can you explain what's going on here? Why we have this on the screen?
Well, last week we were talking about coming out of a pandemic and whether we'll be like the Roaring '20s, and I mentioned that with the speakeasies and the jazz and the flapper girls, and of course, as usual, you didn't know what a flapper girl was.
Well, you said flappa.
I said flapper girl. Yeah, I think it'll be, I don't know if we'll get, flapper girls and speakeasies, but it's going to be a Roaring '20s type of thing for sure.
I've never heard of flapper girls.
From the '20s. Yeah. Flapper.
Okay, I admit, I didn't actually know who they were.
But you know what I'm talking about. And everyone knows now what a flapper girl is.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about that, and it's interesting, right? And then a couple of days later, a mutual friend of ours, Jack Bell, a big salesman at Honda, if you want a car, he sent us this picture of, I think it's Nellie?
Yes, so we're Thursday night, we're hanging out together. We get a text at the same time. It's a picture here. We're wondering, okay, Jack, what are you doing sending us these weird pictures? This is Nellie Helen Bell This is her at age 19 in 1929 in Glasgow, Scotland. This is Jack Bell's grandma. He saw that, our show, and then he sent this in. He said, that's kind of cool. He tells us she was the senior ladies lawn bowling champion of Scotland in 1973, the year after she became a widow.
That's right.
So
in her grief, she won a title.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Talk about climbing out of a ditch.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then that's not it, though. That's not where it ends. The next night, Jack texts us again. He says he's watching Jeopardy, and what clue comes up?
That's right.
But a clue about flapper girls.
Flapper girls.
The very
that's
next
right.
night. So
that's
it all
right.
ties in.
Yes.
And some trivia, actually, for you to tie it all in. What's the name of the small white or yellow ball in lawn bowling that you have to throw your other bowls at?
The peg?
It's called a jack.
Oh, it's called a jack. Okay,
It's called a jack.
Well, everything comes around full circle, doesn't it?
Yeah, what do you think about all the coincidences that we are dealing with here?
I think it's very strange.
It's enough to give you a heart attack, unless you've been taking Strauss Heart Drops. 20% off right now at New Leaf Produce Market. If there is one thing, and one thing alone, that everybody knows, about New Leaf Produce Market, it always prevails. It is a juggernaut, just like its owner, Herman Hoti. And in November, yes, it was hard because the roads and some of his grade A produce, like the produce at Newfeld Farms, we couldn't get it up here. But guess what, folks? The roads are open and the shelves are stocked, jacked and stacked. There's always a rainbow on the other side when it comes to New Leaf Produce Market. Get on down here to check it out. Yeah, you might be wondering, how's this going to work? We have New Leaf Produce Market and McDonald's as sponsors on our show. Well, there's room at the table. And when you're at that table, you can have 2 Big Macs on us by sharing this episode, okay, on Facebook. And what's your favorite burger at McDonald's, Chris?
Oh, well, I go back a ways. People may not remember this. In the late 80s, they had, early 90s, the McDonald's had a fantastic burger called the McDLT. The McDLT, which stands for McDonald's Lettuce and Tomato. And it was brilliant. We've done it at barbecues all the time. You have the hot on one side, you have the cold on the other side. And you get it delivered in a beautiful, you know those old styrofoam things that filled up the landfills? Big, huge white styrofoam. It gets all squeaky when you touch it. Yeah. So they gave you this massive styrofoam thing. And on one side was the hot side of the burger. The other side was the cold, the lettuce and tomato. And then when you wanted to, you put it together. And they had this great commercial. And it starred Jason Alexander, George Costanza and he did this song and dance thing about the McDLT.
You say that just once you'd like your hamburger hot and your lettuce and tomato cool and crisp all at the same time? Yeah!
I know a lot of people are watching saying, man, you guys have really sold out. And you sold out to a big corporation, okay, McDonald's. But that's where you're wrong, okay? Let's meet right now Brandy Gozda-Sekhon. She owns 6 McDonald's in Kamloops, 1 in Merritt. She lives here. She's got 5 kids who are in the community, all the way from toddlers to university students, and she's here to tell you that when you buy McDonald's, you're also buying local.
Me as the owner-operator, I live and I'm your neighbor. So if it's important to you, it's important to me. And youth sport is so important. I think that's our future, right? So, and they're the kids that work for me. So coming back and being able to support them and support what everybody else loves is just, I take care of you, you take care of me, I think. I just want people to know who I am because nobody really knows who I am. They all know Al Gozda, the previous owner, and nobody knows really who I am. That I graduated here in Kamloops. I went to JP. I went to university here. My family's here. My kids play on Kamloops community football. We're involved in hockey. I want them to see me and know that there's a new face in town and that it's not the big corporate guys that own our stores, that it is a local family.
Yeah, we're thankful you hopped on board to join the Last Week Clique here with Kamloops Last Week. So why did you decide to join our team?
I got pretty lucky there. I got sent a video from my dad, actually. And he's like, they're drinking your coffee. And I said, yes, they are. So then it just spiraled from there. Lane's like, I know him. So we just kind of went from there. And then I thought you guys were hilarious. It was a match made in McDonald's heaven, we'll say.
Chris, do you have the app, the McDonald's app?
No, my daughter keeps telling me to get the app. I don't like to do apps. I like to have the piece of paper thing, when we go to the restaurant and they got that stupid QR code and I have to ask for the yeah, this is what I use. I have tons of these all over the place, and then everyone who knows me drops those off. So I know the app's a good thing. I might get around to it, but I prefer the old-fashioned tactile.
Okay, well, that's a bit of a dinosaur thing, the old Big Macosaurus over here. Download the app. Very cool. Also, McDonald's supports youth sports in town. I bet you Jessica Wallace of Kamloops this week played in a soccer tournament that was sponsored by McDonald's. I also bet that she likes Sundays because she's all about the scoops.
TNRD Board Chair Ken Gillis has come out defending his decision to withhold a whistleblower letter from the Board of Directors prior to them voting on a severance package worth about $500,000 and funded by Kamloops and rural taxpayers. So he said that he was protecting the whistleblower. However, there are still questions about whether he could still not have provided that letter to the board without the name and protecting the anonymity. However, we have tried to reach him and are waiting for him to call us back. So the pressure continues to mount. We know that 4 directors have come out publicly calling for his resignation. We now have the Kamloops Voters Society putting out a survey to the public online with questions about accountability and the board oversight and accountability. So that is available through to February 25th and available for filling out. We also know that a TNRD director, Clearwater Mayor Merlin Blackwell, is asking the Board of Directors to issue a formal apology to taxpayers, and that's going to be likely on the agenda next week at the board's next regular meeting.
A few stories to keep an eye out for me this week, including just how much Kamloops area residents donated to the now mostly shut down Freedom Convoy protests, a vote of non-confidence up at the university among faculty, and the latest on BC's ever-evolving response to the pandemic.
So this week, the province released its statistics for the number of drug overdose deaths in BC for 2021, and as expected, we saw a record 2,224 people across the province, and including a record 77 here in Kamloops died from illicit drug overdoses that year. Now, the response from this in Kamloops, and we covered this in our paper this week, was a pair of protests outside our local provincial MLA offices here in town, with protesters calling for the government, both the province and the Fed, to look at policies of safe supply and decriminalization of drugs. That's all I got for you guys for now. Let's take it back to Lee's music with Marty and Chris.
Jessica talked about the TNRD. We're going to get to that more in Above the Folds, but I was hoping you could talk a bit more about the restrictions easing in the province yesterday. What does it mean for us?
Yeah, we're filming on February 16th, so as of tomorrow, February 17th, tonight at midnight, a lot of the restrictions are gone. So the biggest one, of course, is gathering restrictions. You can have unlimited people in your house, so Mike and Bonnie can have a huge rave at their place tonight without any repercussions. You can
Pineapple shirts.
Pineapple shirts, and you can have unlimited the Canucks, the Blazers, the Storm, Wolfpack. There's no limits on capacity, which is a good thing. Western Canada Theatre, they can have as many as they want in there, and each place can also, I think Western Canada Theatre's doing this, just because people might be a little spooked still, they might space it out a bit for people, right? That's a good thing.
Masks, though, haven't really changed.
Masks are still in play. You have to wear your mask going to and from the tables. You can mingle at the tables. You can have more than 6 people at the tables in the restaurant, but you have to wear your mask, I think, while you're watching the game, if you're not eating, if you walk into the washroom in the restaurant. And that's the biggest thing, but the masks are still in. The vaccine card is still in, even though a number of other provinces are getting rid of it right away. I think Manitoba's coming up.
Does the mask thing make sense? I mean,
not a lot of this makes any sense, as we've said many times over, but I can deal with it.
Yeah, I guess I wish we didn't have to wear masks, but at this point for me, it's like, what's one more month?
Yeah.
Okay, let's just, and hopefully...
Well, it's an airborne virus. We know that now, and we know that there is studies that show it mitigates it, but you're right. I mean, I don't know what the purpose of us walking, down this short hallway with a mask on, and then taking off and then
And
talking.
are we breaking the rule? Like, are we breaking the
No,
rules?
because we're working and we have a coffee. If you have a
that's right,
coffee, the
McDonald's
virus
coffee.
doesn't go anywhere because so. No, it doesn't make a lot of sense. We've said that. I think Dr. Bonnie and everyone across Canada are doing the best that they can, and and like I think John Horgan said yesterday, said it best. It's a balance between the mental health and the effects of all the shutdowns and the health of people. And I think it comes down to this: if you're a relatively healthy guy like you and I, knock on wood, you can basically live your life.
Yeah.
But if you have issues, medical issues or whatever, take precautions like you would anywhere else, and that's what we got to do going forward.
Mike, I'm happy for you. This is good news for you, right?
This is such great news. With an audiovisual company with no audience, you're not an audiovisual company really, but now we're booking up. And the crazy thing is, we've got our April has quadruple bookings all within one little time area.
Yeah.
So we got some things to do. So if you know any sound engineers or people that want to work, let us know.
The labor shortage even in your sector, right?
Hugely, yeah.
Yep.
Okay. I want to hear about the TNRD in our next segment, which is Above the Folds.
Quick background here. We all know about the spending controversy at the TNRD and the forensic audit and the police investigation, both of which resulted out of Jessica Wallace's stories. So then it comes out about a few weeks ago, there was a public meeting in the TNRD. Jessica's covering it. During the meeting, there was a talk about the board sending a letter to some government entity, some important letter, we need some information about something, unrelated to spending or anything like that. And then another director said, well, we should CC it to someone else to make sure they get this letter. And at that point, a director named Sally Watson, who represents the 100 Mile House area, she kind of quipped, yeah, we should send it, we should carbon copy the letter in case it gets shredded. It was like a little dig, and it was really a vague dig. And no one really picked up on it, but Jessica did. She heard that. What the hell is, what's that about, eh? So she looked into it, and it turns out that we found out through other sources that Ken Gillis received a letter from a senior TNRD manager that had serious allegations against Sue Gill, the former CEO, financial and otherwise. Mm-hmm. And he received that letter on January 29th, 2020. He did not show any of the board members. About 2 weeks later, the board voted on Sue Gill's $520,000 severance package. Now, Sally Watson, the director, said had she known about that letter, Dale Bass, another director, if she had known about that letter, they wouldn't have voted that way.
Yeah.
They would have maybe pushed for Gill to be dismissed with cause and save the taxpayers $520,000 plus maybe even more.
Gillis is saying, though, that he was protecting a whistleblower by not revealing it, right?
Yeah, he's saying that, first of all, he wouldn't acknowledge the existence of the letter, citing some kind of legal in-camera mumbo-jumbo, but okay, fair enough. So he finally came out with a statement this week, 2 days ago, that said, I can confirm there was a letter. I can't talk about the contents. Fair enough. We have the letter. We've read the letter, but we can't publish the entire letter because there's legalities involved. Although we have said much of the letter involves much of what we were reported on in the last year.
And I think we should mention, like, Brett Menier also contributed reporting yesterday, something that they wouldn't talk to Wallace. Like, they kind of frozen Wallace out.
Yeah. Well, what happened? Well, yes. So Ken Gillis says that he said that he makes no apologies. He's not going to step down, and he couldn't show the letter to the board because it was entrusted to him by the senior manager. And we wanted to ask him, well, you can easily tell the board that there's all these allegations against the CAO without revealing the identity of the person. We do it all the time in our job, so it doesn't take a genius to know how to do that. So Gillis's explanation doesn't hold up any water. We wanted to ask him questions about that. We wanted to ask a bunch of questions. Why couldn't you explain to the board the allegations and hide the identity of the person? Did you vote on this after knowing these allegations? Is that not a conflict, et cetera, et cetera? But today's February 16th, so from February 1st, when we first wrote about that letter, to February 15th, yesterday, he refused to return our phone calls. And so we kept putting that in the stories. He's not returning our phone calls. He's not returning phone calls. Yesterday, after deadline, at about 4 o'clock, he sends me an email back, because I sent him a strongly worded email yesterday morning about it's really not cool and undemocratic to freeze up one media outlet because they do a job better than others and then go talk to the others. So he finally sent me an email saying, oh, I'll talk to Jessica Wallace. How about Thursday at 1? And then he's never done that before. So it's a little bit of a bullshit move, but he did it. So we're going to talk to him on Thursday. But in the meantime, he went and talked to NL, and Brett Menier, the radio host at NL, he had him on. And he asked some good questions about him, about this issue, and Ken answered what he could answer. Again, it didn't pass the smell test. Not only him, but Barriere Mayor Ward Stamer. He's another guy who has no backbone. He sent Jessica Wallace on a Saturday night a text, unprofessional text, saying that he was misquoted in her story and that she didn't add more information and that he's heard a lot of the board members won't talk to him and he, Ward Stamer, is one of them. He's not going to talk to her anymore. So she texted me and said, "What the hell? I'm having dinner with my husband. I get this text from a guy in Barriere." So I called him up on Super Bowl Sunday and I said, "Hey," I got his voicemail. I said, "You accused our reporter of misquoting you. I listened to the tape. You didn't. So I want you to call her and apologize in person like a man. And call me so we can talk it out." So it's been 4 days and he hasn't called. So it tells you what kind of character he has. He's protecting the whole board. He gets upset at the leak of the letter rather than at the contents of the letter. And that's the problem with a lot of these people. So this week I've been a little bit pissed off at TNRD because they are being unprofessional. Granted, Ken said he will talk to us, and I'm just waiting for Ward Stamer to call me. Be a man, call me. Call Jessica Wallace, apologize for being wrong, and leave her alone on a Saturday night. That's all.
Okay, there it is. If you have feedback on this story, you can email us at klw@kamloopsthisweek.com. For now, though, let's flip over to the title of Hastings. That right there is Kyrell Sopotyk. This is a story that I won't forget. Last January, he was in North Battleford, Saskatchewan, and he was involved in a snowboarding accident. It didn't even really seem like a major crash or anything to him at the time, but he ended up paralyzed from the waist down. This is supposed to be his 20-year-old season right now, and you feel for the kid, right? His whole life, his dreams were hockey. That's all he ever wanted to do, and that's been taken away from him. The club, the Blazers, doing a really cool thing this Friday night. They're playing the Everett Silvertips. It's a big game, 100% capacity, and they're bringing Kyrell back in to drop the puck. The good news is he's in great spirits. I talked to him yesterday. He's really pursuing sports. He's into wheelchair basketball. He's into wheelchair racing, among other things. Those are his two main ones. He wants to go to the Canada Games for wheelchair racing. I don't doubt that he will. Also, a cool part of this story is the GoFundMe account. Nearly 200 grand raised by people in this city and across the hockey world. And we asked Kyrell what that meant to him and his family.
I don't know if I might have told you this, but I mean, the first time I looked at that, it brought me to tears. Realizing the support behind me and everyone that was following my journey and going along with me. So, I mean, it's helped tremendously. I mean, just getting back to everyday life. I mean, the cost of wheelchair, making stuff adaptable in the house, getting the lift in, getting my vehicle, getting the hand controls put in, getting it adapted for me so I'm able to drive again. So, yeah, it's been huge. I mean, it's helped out a lot, and I really appreciate it, and I can't thank people enough for everything.
That's cool. Yeah, you mentioned the driving. I was going to ask you about the independence, and one of the things you said to me is I'm a stubborn guy, and I want to be basically as independent as I can be. So how independent are you? Yeah,
like I'm completely independent. Like everything's on my own. I'm able to do everything. I mean, there's some stuff. I mean, say you're in the kitchen or something, you can't reach something, you have to ask for help. But I mean, that's just part of life. So I mean, the driving, being able to go out on my own, do my own thing, it's been amazing. So.
How you been doing from a mental standpoint?
What I realized, I mean, when I was in the hospital is this is the new life, and you can't change the past. So you just got to move forward. And I mean, I try to stay positive. I mean, there's you have your good and your bad days, but for the most part, it's staying positive.
How closely have you followed the Blazers?
I haven't really watched any games, but I check the box score. I see all the tweets on Twitter. I mean, I follow how they're doing. So.
Is it hard to watch?
I would say it's hard. I mean, even if I watch other hockey games or like even in this small town rink watching minor hockey, I mean, it is tough. I really do miss it. And yeah, like it is tough for sure.
Yeah. What do you think it's going to be like coming back here?
I'm super excited to come back. I know it was always something that was mentioned right from the start that I wanted to get back to Kamloops at some point and see everyone. I mean, I'm looking forward to it, seeing all the guys, seeing the staff, I mean, seeing the fans, my billets. I think it'll be a great time overall.
This will be your first time back, right?
First time back, yeah.
I think you're dropping the puck out there, and there's going to be a lot of people here who are going to be happy to greet you. Everybody in the stands, everybody in the city. I mean, what do you think that's going to be like to have a reception like that?
Yeah, I think it'll be crazy. I mean, it'll be hard, I think. But I mean, even like you look at the support. I mean, like the last game, I seen someone on a poster, and it was about me. It was thinking about you always, and it was so. I mean, I think everyone will be excited to see me. I'm excited to see everyone get back, talk to some people, and yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah, that's the one thing I was thinking about myself. Is I've thought about reaching out to you a bunch of times, just kind of didn't do it. And there's always that initial rush of everybody reaching out, and then maybe it goes quiet on your end. I mean, has that been tough? I mean, do you ever wonder, like, you know, have people just stopped thinking about me because they don't reach out as much as they did at the first, you know, few months or month after the accident?
Not really. I think like it's personal space thing maybe, like, but I know like I have like around here there's close people, like everyone in the community, they see me out and about, they still want to come talk to me, see what I'm up to. I mean, with friends and family, you always feel loved and stuff. So I mean, that space people probably give, but it's always nice when you get a random text out of nowhere from someone and just asking how you're doing, saying they're thinking about you and stuff. So that's, yeah, I always appreciate those texts.
You watched the clip of Kyrell?
I did.
Anything stand out there?
Well, the big thing that stood out to me, well, first of all, his optimism for the future, and the fact that I like the fact that he says, you know, what's done is done. You got to look forward. Like Satchel Paige said, don't look back. You don't want to see what's gaining on you, right? That's a good headspace to be in. I don't know how he does it, but it's so hard. But he's doing it, so he tells you his mental and emotional strength. But also, what got me was, and he described it well, is you got to think of all the little things that change in your life. Like he said, he's in the kitchen, he can't reach something, or you know, he has to retrofit his car. Maybe the washroom, maybe get some for the stairs or the ramp or whatever. So I guess you just don't realize how this affects your life in incremental pieces.
I think the only time he kind of got mildly emotional was when he was talking about missing the game.
Yeah, and watching the game, watching minor hockey, how that hurts him. And you feel for the guy, and it's going to be hard for him. He doesn't watch too many of those games, and I think it's partly, well, he said it's partly because it's just too hard for him to watch. He's supposed to be out there this season with them. I had a big kind of man crush lately on Dalen Kiefler of the Blazers. I've written about him a bunch, and that's not going to change. Like, this guy is just a character guy. He went out to visit him for a week in the summer to hang out with him. So Dalen Kiefler, more props to him. You know he's a character guy. And you know who else is a character guy? I think. I actually never met him, so I don't know. James MacDonald of Western Canada Theatre. We'll bring him in right now. February 16th, as we're filming this right now. The next play is called Boom. The last play, which was fantastic, was the Chelsea Hotel. The songs of Leonard Cohen. How did that go? I know it was supposed to be during the pandemic. It got shut down. The cast did it from the motel balcony, but then you managed to put it on just before Christmas. In retrospect, what was the reaction to that, and how did you think it went?
Well, in the first place, it was so fantastic just to be back together again. I mean, that's the theme of our season this year, is just, we know how people just miss being together. And so the opportunity to be back in the theater with anything, I think, was really special for people. But it was a special show, you know. It's a beautiful, it's full of fantastic talent. They're singers, they're musicians, they're dancers. And of course, the music is fantastic. So that in itself is a pretty special experience in the theater. But it had an extra special dynamic, given the fact that we canceled it right before, like literally 2 weeks before the pandemic started, and then we're able to bring it back. And, you know, the great thing about Cohen is it has such broad appeal to different, you know, older people like Cohen, younger people like Cohen.
That's right.
And there was something for everybody in the show.
I want to ask you about improv. Last year, Chris and our significant others at the time went to an improv show. And I'm always amazed at the guts it must take to get up there and do that. How much guts does it take to go and put yourself out there like that?
In improv or everything?
Well, how about everything? I mean, just in general on stage like that.
You know, I got to say, I've had a checkered career. I've had a very, maybe not checkered, but varied career doing all. I like to think it's what has made me pretty good at my job now, is that when I was a young actor, I did everything. And one of the things I did was improv, and not very well. But I used to do improv in corporate comedy shows. And it is a totally, you know, and comedy too, same thing. When you're putting yourself out there, and basically, you know, when you're doing improv or you're doing comedy, you're never supposed to go for the laugh, right? You're supposed to go for the story. You're supposed to go for the saying yes and be, you know, basically going with the flow with everything. But of course, people want to laugh, and you're aware of that. And so it's a challenging experience, kind of knowing that you're going to entertain the audience by making them laugh, but also just being in the moment and not saying no, essentially.
So the next play is Boom, and it starts on the 24th of February. Can you explain a little bit about what that is, and how are you guys going to handle the 100% capacity?
Well, Boom is a super exciting theatrical show. When I say it's a one-person show, people go, oh, it's a one-person show, somebody's standing up there talking to you. But this guy is, a lot of people know him from different types of shows that he's done. He's one of Canada's most incredible musicians, impressionists, impersonators, actors, writers, directors. And he's put together a show that is essentially tells the history of the baby boom generation from 1950 to 1972. And it's through video, it's through light, it's through music. He's got 25 songs in it. He impersonates all the artists. And the video show is astonishing. Like, he's compiled all the old, advertisements, political speeches, just all sorts of things that are real touch points of that generation. So it's a beautiful interactive kind of experience between him and the video and the music, and it tells a family story as well.
Is it a one-man show?
It is a one-man show, yeah. And he does the whole thing from inside this video screen, this cylindrical video screen. And I've seen it a few times. We had it in Edmonton when I lived and worked there. Mm-hmm. And, it's dazzling for the audience. And it truly is, like, we use the word tour de force a lot, but this is a true tour de force. And, whether you like most people know the music.
Oh, yeah.
And the other thing that I like to say is, obviously there's people who will see it that will remember that. I don't remember that personally. I'm a little bit too young for that. But the music, the politics, the pop culture, like the advertising, all of the things of that generation are the things that made us who we are today.
Sure.
And so it really, you do see the threads, from rock and roll in the 50s all the way to rap and hip hop. If you saw the Super Bowl show,
You would not have liked that halftime show, eh?
I watched the halftime show.
But you don't like that. You don't like rap.
I don't like rap.
How you feel about that?
I don't like rap. You don't like deep dish pizza. It doesn't mean it's good for people. It doesn't matter. But professional theater company in a city the size of Kamloops, how unique is it across the country to have this kind of theater in this kind of town? Town.
Yeah, it is. It's a unicorn. I always like to say. If you look at any comparable city, I think, what did the census say? We're 61st?
98 now, yeah.
And there's no theater company below, 15 or 20 on that list that's fully professional. And if you look at the cities like Red Deer or Lethbridge or, Brandon, Manitoba, just comparable cities, there's nothing close to it. And it really is a tribute to the people here. I mean, the company's survived because the people here have supported it for all these years.
How much have we been missing what you do? Over this pandemic?
Well, I think it's really, like, for me, obviously I love theater. I love the experience of theater. I love the stories that we tell. But really what it is sharing the stories together. We've all spent a lot of time in front of our TVs or our computers just watching things, and there's some great things that we can see there. But, we're not going to laugh as much when we're watching something on TV as we do in the theater. Mm-hmm. It's just something about, I don't know, I like to sometimes say it's in our bones to tell stories around the fire, right? Mm-hmm. And to be together and sharing an experience of laughter or an experience of sadness. We just feel it more profoundly. Yeah. And it's also, it's community building, right? Yeah. Like, we're trying to get people to come to our city. We're trying to make people who live here have different options and great experiences.
Absolutely, yeah. The water
Same with hockey too. I liken it, the sports guy, going back to sports here, but there's nothing like the feeling of a packed barn and an overtime winning goal that you can just feel the community together, celebrating together. That you just can't replicate that, and I'm sure it's kind of similar with what you're talking about.
It's like an encore or something at
exactly, like an
ABBA,
encore.
The Mamma Mia thing when they came out and they sang. It sends chills down your spine when you're standing up with all your people.
And I think we realize now, and we're not even talking to James anymore. You realize it now because we've missed it so much. Like, when you get a little taste of it, even at half capacity, you're like, oh man, I forgot how good this actually feels.
The Roaring Twenties come in. We're going to flow right back into it. Okay, a couple last things here. You played Einstein in a play. Did you have to take an IQ test? And second of all, and this is a more serious question, when you play someone like Einstein, who Marty might not know, but he was a quite notable guy in the past, do you come out of it knowing more about the character you played if he was a real person?
Yeah, well, I'm kind of a history nerd anyway. I actually started in my history program, and then the let's just say the people were more fun in the drama department.
Yeah,
So for some reason I ran away and joined the circus. So I love telling historical stories on stage because I think they can be like vibrant and come to life in that way. I didn't need an IQ test, but I needed a lot of hair gel, I can tell you that. But it was, that's an incredible story, that Einstein's gift story, because it is a story that, that's the great thing, is unearthing these stories that people don't know.
Well, yeah, with the mustard gas and everything like that. It's
the guy who invented
Yeah.
chlorine gas and chemical warfare, that was also used in the Holocaust to exterminate, and he was Jewish. And it's just...
it's ironic there, because he was Jewish, and it's crazy. But
and just to go back to your point, Marty, I totally agree. And that's why, I love sports stories on stage, because... I watched the game last night, and I'm just going, it was good to watch. But you're watching, there's nothing like it, right?
No.
Whatever that is, sharing that experience, and especially when it's packed, and especially when people are doing it together.
Yeah, well, even for me, writing about sports, I've lost a lot of the passion, because for me, a lot of it's about the spectacle and the atmosphere. And you can't, empty stadiums, I just couldn't even watch my favorite sports. Even watching the NFL, it's they lack meaning because people weren't there. Final thoughts?
Well, it's just such a pleasure. I mean, I appreciate what you guys are doing here so much that, like I say, anything that's going to promote the city, promote the community, promote the things that are going on in the community is really what we're on about too, right? It's just to find a way to keep building connections with different people in the community as well. So thanks for telling our stories, because that's what it's all about.
Yep.
All right, James, that's a tour de force performance on KLW. Okay, that was a fun show. Any thoughts, final thoughts?
It's good that we're opening up. It's good that a lot of people are going to be this weekend at the Blazers game, and for the emotional return. And it's good that the theater is back in force, and everything. And Mike's business is picking up, and you can go to the restaurant and not have to worry about not seeing your friend across the way and go and say hi. It's good.
Yeah, this is my friend right here. I went down there this morning to New Leaf Produce Market. They have romaine and mandarins. They're priced to sell. Also, again, Mike, can you hit us with a little... Wow, that was almost like a baritone version. Yeah. McDonald's, thanks for coming on board. To Lee's Music, for KLW, for Chris, I'm Marty Hastings, and we'll see you last week.
Last week.
It does, but it makes it vibrate. There's some calls that still come through for some reason. So.
This guy?
Or maybe it's at 12.